Christmas was supposed to bring families together. Instead, it became the night my own daughter watched in silence while her husband humiliated me in front of everyone. I quietly closed the door and walked away without saying a single word. They laughed because they thought the old man had finally given up. What happened 1 hour later left every person at that dinner table speechless forever. Stay with me because this story proves that respect is worth more than money, and some lessons only arrive when it is already too late. For more than 40 years I worked every single day. I never became a millionaire, but I built a comfortable life through honesty, sacrifice, and patience. My wife passed away 5 years before this Christmas, and since then my daughter Emma had become my only close family. Every Christmas I looked forward to spending time with her because it reminded me of the years when our house was full of laughter. That December morning, I carefully wrapped the presents myself. I bought gifts for my daughter, my son-in-law David, and my 2 grandchildren. I even baked my late wife's recipe for apple pie because the children always asked for it. Before leaving, I stood quietly in front of my wife's photograph and promised her I would keep our family together no matter what. The weather turned terrible. Snow covered the roads and traffic stopped for almost an hour because of a small accident. I called Emma twice, but she did not answer. I sent a message saying I would be late. I believed everyone would understand because Christmas is about love, not perfect timing. When I finally reached their house, I smiled while carrying the gifts. Through the window, I could see the family gathered around the table. Candles were glowing and everyone seemed happy. I thought I was just in time before dessert. As I slowly opened the front door, I heard David stand up with a glass in his hand. He laughed loudly and said, "I am so glad that useless old man did not come. Christmas is finally peaceful without him." The room exploded with laughter. Someone clapped. Someone repeated the joke. My daughter did not laugh, but she did not defend me either. I stood frozen behind the half-open door. No one noticed me. Every word felt heavier than the gifts I was holding. I quietly closed the door. I placed the presents back inside my car. Then I drove away without making a single sound. On the drive home, I cried for the first time since my wife's funeral. Not because David insulted me, but because my daughter allowed it to happen. When I reached home, I placed every present back under my own Christmas tree. I made myself a cup of coffee and stared out the window. About 30 minutes later, my phone started ringing. Emma called 3 times. David called twice. I ignored every call. Then my grandson left a voice message asking, "Grandpa, where are you? We have been waiting for you." I loved that little boy, but I knew the adults needed to learn something first. An hour later, there was a loud knock on my door. Emma stood outside crying. David looked nervous. He apologized and claimed it was only a joke. I calmly asked him one question. "Would you still call it a joke if someone said those words to your own father?" He could not answer. Emma finally admitted she had heard every word. She confessed she was afraid to embarrass her husband in front of the guests. I told her that by staying silent she embarrassed herself far more than she could ever embarrass him. I invited them inside. I did not yell. I did not insult anyone. Instead, I showed them a small wooden box. Inside were every birthday card my daughter had ever given me, every drawing she made as a child, every school photograph, every letter she wrote telling me I was the best father in the world. I asked her quietly, "When exactly did I stop being that father?" She burst into tears. David lowered his head. Then I opened another folder. It contained documents showing that I had already arranged for my house to become my daughter's inheritance after my death. I looked directly at David. I told him that wealth means nothing without character. Then I closed the folder and locked it away. I explained that I would not make any decisions while emotions were high. Respect had to be earned again through actions, not apologies. The room remained silent. David admitted he had often mocked older people because he believed success and youth made him superior. That night he realized how quickly pride can destroy a family. Over the following months, things slowly changed. David began visiting every weekend. He repaired things around my house without being asked. He stopped making cruel jokes. Most importantly, he treated every elderly person with kindness. Emma also changed. She promised she would never again stay silent when someone disrespected her family. The grandchildren saw adults taking responsibility for their mistakes. That lesson became more valuable than any Christmas gift. 1 year later, we celebrated Christmas together again. Before dinner, David stood up holding a glass. The room became quiet. He looked at me and said, "The strongest man in this family is not the youngest or the richest. It is the man who taught us forgiveness after we failed him." Everyone applauded. This time, the tears in my eyes came from healing instead of heartbreak. Christmas was no longer about presents. It was about restoring respect. Sometimes the deepest wounds are not caused by strangers. They come from the people we love the most. Revenge does not always mean hurting someone back. Sometimes the greatest revenge is allowing people to face the consequences of their own actions and giving them one chance to become better. Respect your parents while they are still here, because one day the empty chair at the table cannot be filled again.